Welcome everybody. I'm glad you could come and join me for this last session of the expo. So my name is Karen McAllister and I am the chair of a meditation center and a mindful money coach. And today I'm going to talk to you about cultivating an abundant and loving relationship with money. Who'd like a more abundant and loving relationship with money? Right. So just the purpose for today is that you can come away with a new thought or a new idea or a new way of thinking about your relationship with money. That's all. I'm hoping that you will get something of a golden nugget and think differently about your relationship with money. Okay? So here's the overview for today. I'm going to explain my own journey in my relationship with money, how I came to become a mindful money coach. I'll then just talk a little bit about money in our brains. I'll work with you and look at ways of working with your unconscious money beliefs and patterns. And then it's a final wrap up. So it should be around 20 minutes. And I will be asking you to do a quiz, so don't go away too soon. So I'm going to explain a little bit about how I got to be a meditator and a mindful money coach. So I've been very interested all my life in the whole idea of generosity and opening the heart and opening the mind. And I went to the East and studied with this great teacher for a few years, and he said, Karen, in order to liberate the mind and liberate the heart, you have to actually practice the art of generosity. It's an actual training, to actually practice the art of generosity every day. Hello. And so what I've done since I've been working with him is I practice being generous by giving 3 times a day, mentally, physically, and emotionally. So mental might be say a nice thought to somebody, or wish them may they all be well and happy. Emotionally, I might compliment somebody on their dress or what they're wearing or their hairstyle. And then in the body, I always carry around a bit of change with me, so that if I pass somebody who's homeless on the street, that I have a chance of practicing generosity and giving that person who's in a much more unfortunate situation than I am. Okay. So when I came back from the East, I'm one of the co-founding members of a meditation center. And maybe some of you know, starting up a business, you do all sorts of things, you wear so many hats, but you then naturally end up in a field that's very much in line with your talent and your abilities. So I ended up in fund development. And so I ended up sitting down having conversations with people around money, because it's very interesting in helping people become monthly donors, or helping people expand the infrastructure at the center so that we can have a wonderful space where people could come and meditate. However, it's easier said than done. It was very hard for me to actually get commitments out of people, to actually part from their money, and I would see patterns with people around money. I would suddenly be sitting down and I'd suddenly discover their inner bag lady. I'd suddenly feel and discover that they had a big inner sense of not enoughness and worthiness around money, a lack of worthiness around money. I would hear story upon story upon story about betrayal around money, how money was stolen from them, or they had hard relationships with money with their family and friends. I would just hear a lot about how they had a lot of mistrust in their relationship with money, right? So I felt in my job, in order to be an effective fund developer for my organization and also to be a better practitioner of generosity, I need to have to look at this relationship with money. And so I went searching, and so that I could actually talk to money or talk to people and help them relieve their suffering around money. So this is what I found out, which makes me a lot more of an effective conversationalist with people and helping them relieve their suffering around money. So there was one woman that I worked with, and her name was Lynn Twist, and she describes the global environment that we're living in around money. And it used to be just in the West, but now it's global. And it's like us, we're like fish swimming in a very sick fishbowl. The water hasn't been changed. And this fishbowl of water is these 3 toxic myths or assumptions that we live in. And the first is that the amount of money you have in your bank determines your self-worth. Okay? So in other words, the more money you have, the more worthwhile a person you are, right? The second big assumption that she taught me was there's not enough to go round. So there's not enough money, I don't have enough. I don't have enough money, I don't have enough to live a good life. So the sense of not enoughness goes right into our bone, that we actually end up thinking that I am not enough, right? Then the third myth, it is just the way it is. It's, capitalism, look at the States, the world's going to a bad place, there's nothing I can do about it. There's a sense of resignation around the planet. So she's saying to me, Karen, this is the pool that we're swimming in. So if you have a difficult relationship with money, it's not your fault. There's so much shame and there's so much guilt around money. It's not your fault, right? It's really not about you. So this was very relieving for me, and this really helped me to be a more effective and compassionate person when I'm doing my money mindfulness coaching. Then I went to the science line, and I wanted to discover about how money was shaped in our brains. And it says that early childhood experiences affects the way the brain is hardwired. So research shows that early childhood experiences, they certainly create a background for learning, for development, but they also affect the way the brain is hardwired. And this is really interesting because apparently most of our patterns are formed between the ages of 2 and 12, and a lot of them are unconscious, because as children, we don't have any discernment or discerning wisdom. We just take in everything. We're like a sponge. We take in whatever way mom and dad is, we just eat it, right? And it's not till our adult life that we get into trouble and we start having to look at these patterns and decide, well, how am I going to change this? And neuroscientists are also saying is between 2 and 12, this is when most of our brain develops. Right? So no wonder I was having these conversations that were very uncomfortable, and a lot of pain was brought up for people when I asked them to look at their philanthropic goals, right? Then I just also looked at the evolutionary scientists, and I looked at what they were saying about money. And so we've been on the planet as human beings for 2.3 million years. And we were merely hunters and gatherers there. And so we actually, for most of our lives here on planet Earth, have been relying on one brain. And it's back here, and it's called the amygdala, or the instinctive brain. And this brain is wired for desire. It's wired to react. It's wired to it's wired for us to be focused on shelter and food and clothing, survival, basically, right? And so money is actually wired very much into this part of the brain. So that's why if you feel you get very stressed about money, you feel when money starts to get low, you start to feel very kind of itchy. This is why. So our brains have evolved since then, and we've had 2 newer brains happen. So our brains have got much bigger since our hunter-gatherers cousins. And I call them the 3 inner economic tracks. So brain 1.0, brain 2.0, and brain 3.0. And I'll quickly go through what each of them are. So the lower brain is what I've just explained to you. It's been around for 2.3 million years. Thank you. It's kept us alive today. We ran away from tigers, because if not, we wouldn't be here. It's ancient, it's instinctive, and it's really, really fast. Okay. Brain 2.0 is around this area, and it's called the limbic brain, the midbrain, and this is the house where we store our memories, our learning, our emotion, and it's also known as the historical subconscious filing system, okay? And it's largely subconscious, so we're not very aware of what's happening there, and a lot of our behaviors and patterns as a result are unconscious. Oh, sorry. Then we have our third brain, and this is our newest brain, and it's brain 3.0, and it's here. It's in the prefrontal cortex. And did you ever go out and spend some money and go, why did I spend money on that? I spent $150 on that I don't even need. And you go, oh my God, I wasn't in my right brain. Well, you weren't. You were in your emotional brain, probably. So this 3.0, which is here, is your chief financial officer. It's where you want to be when you're making any kind of decision making. It's where you want to be when you're talking to your spouse about money. It's where you want to be when you're talking about your financial bottom line in your business, or you're looking at your revenue projections, etc., etc. But this is the slowest brain, right? It's all these great things, this brain. It's where the planner is, it's the entry into higher consciousness, it's where you've got all those wonderful goodies like loving kindness, compassion, joy, all those great, people, when you're in that great state, people want to be around you, right? So you want to be in this brain 3.0 when you're making any sort of financial decisions. Of course, a lot of the time we're not, because the brain is hardwired into the animal or the emotional, and so we're highly reactive around money. And we're not in our right mind, okay? So as a result, most of our behaviors and patterns, because they've been learned between 2 and 12, they are unconscious. They're stored in the emotional. So we end up reacting in anger, we end up getting triggered, and we don't know why, and particularly around money. So I'm going to introduce you today about a way that you can identify what patterns you have around money, understand the patterns you have around money, and then look at some behavioral strategies where you can go from some old patterns that are not bringing you much happiness in your life to more productive ones. So this is this work I take from a woman called Deborah Price from the Money Coaching Institute, and she has developed 8 archetypes around money, and they're all named there: the innocent, the victim, the warrior, the martyr, the fool, the creator artist, the tyrant, and the magician. And they are not you. They don't describe you as a person. They describe tendencies or patterns that you may have around money. Okay? So I'll go through them quickly. So the first one is the innocent. And when a person is a high innocent, they usually don't feel very competent about managing money, and they lease their financial decision makings to their spouse or to their business partner, and you hear them saying, well, I actually don't do money well, right? And that's called the innocent archetype. Next one is the victim. So the victim, when there's a lot of victim tendencies, there's a sort of tend to create situations where it doesn't bring money, because there's a lot of, usually the victim archetype, if it's high, the person has a lot of trauma in their background, and they have a lot of unprocessed pain, and so they create situations where they actually they don't bring in revenue, or they don't actually have a good relationship with money, because then they wouldn't be the victim, right? If they did, who would they be if they were successful? The next one is the warrior, and the warrior is the archetype that and patterns and behaviors around money that you want to be in. So you think of a car, you want the warrior archetype in the driver's seat. Hi. You want to have the warrior archetype in the driver's seat of your car. And I'm going to tell you the other archetypes that you also want in your car. And so this is usually someone exhibits a kind of patterns of, they feel very comfortable with money, they actually have an intimate relationship with money, they love their cash flows, they love their budgets, they love helping out people with money, but they're not afraid of money, they're not putting their head in the sand around money. And so it's a very nice set of patterns and behaviors to have. The next one is the martyr, and this is usually, you'll find a lot of people here actually would have that. A lot of people in the healing arts, a lot of artists, and that they have they're giving of themselves. There's a lot of self-sacrifice and purpose to this set of patterns, and they're very much into caretaking people at the expense of themselves, and so sometimes they tend not to look at their money issues. It's all about meeting their needs through meeting the needs of others, actually. Next one is the fool. This is a great archetype to have. This is an archetype you want in your car as well. You want the fool in the back seat. People go, the fool? I want the fool in the back seat. Yes, you do. Because the fool, yes, it's very much, I have money, let's spend it today. Well, to hell with tomorrow. What am I going to do? Yeah, I might as well buy a car. And hey, I've got this great business deal. All you have to do is give me $2,000 and I'll make it all happen for you. And by the way, I'm selling my house tomorrow to a friend because he's given me a really great deal on it. So the fool archetype around money is very impulsive, very freewheeling, high energy and whatever, but needs the anchoring of the warrior archetype. So the fool is, what's really good about the fool is that it seeks out opportunities for you. When you have a lot of patterns, of this, the great advantage of is it's looking for opportunities to bring in revenue. It's looking for those networking opportunities for you. So you really want to keep the more positive side of the Fool archetype. Then we've got the creator artist. So the creator artist is another archetype, another set of patterns or tendencies you want in your car, and they want to be in the back seat. So you've got the Fool in the back seat, the creator artist in the back seat. The creator artist comes up with the ideas. It comes up with the ideas of starting a business, right? But the downside of the creator artist, if this is high in your behavior patterns, is that they have a dissociation with money. It's like, no, I'm doing my healing, I'm doing my art. Money is somehow it's going to bring a sense of inauthenticity to my work, right? So we've got to work with that if you've got a big creator artist, a lot of patterns there. The next one is the tyrant. I don't really know if I have to explain this. The tyrant is all about earning as much money as they can, showing off their money in terms of cars and what they have and status and so forth. It is what's behind, if you have a lot of patterns in this, there's usually a huge sense of not enoughness in the being, chronic not enoughness actually. And so you see this in a lot of in big corporations, and you won't find the tyrant here. You won't find the tyrant at this sort of exhibition. You won't find it around healing and artists. You'll find this in the business world mainly, which gives business a bad name, and money is really quite a tool really at the end of the day. And then you want to be in the magician. The magician wants to be in the passenger seat. You want to have a set of patterns and behaviors. You want the magician talking to the warrior. So the warrior is in the driver's seat. Your magician is your navigator, your GPS, Siri, whoever you want to call them. A magician is about, being in relationship, being in a financially balanced relationship with money, knowing that money is a tool. It's not a projection of your hurts and fears. It's a way of actually expressing your talents and abilities in the world, and having trust that what you give out, and by using it, being with your life purpose and being with your ability and talents, the amount of money that you need in the world comes to you. And so there's a certain amount of trust in this archetype. So if I were to give you the ideal car, your ideal car, as you're driving towards your destination, your life purpose, you want to have the warrior in the driver's seat. You want to have your magician in the passenger seat, the front passenger seat, navigating, and then you want the creator artist and the Fool in the back seat. So I'll just tell you how it works. So the creator artist in yourself goes, I want to start a business, or I want to increase my clients in my business. And so the brainstorming starts. So you bring in the wonderful qualities, the patterns of the creator artist, and you get to this great idea. Now you want to see, is it worth it? So you put your hand on the shoulder of the warrior and you go, excuse me, what do you think of this idea, warrior? And the set of patterns in you goes, okay, I'm going to do some research out there. I'm going to see, does this idea have water? Okay, I'm going to have a look at a revenue plan. Can I make this actually happen? I'm going to talk to a lot of business people maybe in this area that can help me. I can actually talk to my bank manager. So it's all manifesting the idea, right? And then you have the magician there, and the magician is making sure that the warrior is on target. So sometimes, do you know that where you're in a car and you're on your destination and you see a shop and you go, oh, I want to see, and it's like a 50% off, and you're like, oh. And so you don't get to your destination, you end up late, your husband's wondering, what the hell, where the hell are you? You're meant to pick me up, you're 45 minutes late, right? So the magician is like, hey, get back on track. This is your destination, this is where you're going, right? And then the other person is the Fool. The Fool, or it's not a person, it's a set of tendencies and patterns. So the Fool is in the back seat as well, and then sort of taps on the shoulder of the magician and the warrior and says to you, hey, there's an opportunity over there. Go talk to that person. I think this is really good. And so the warrior will then do his homework. He'll go on Google, he'll research the person, he'll find out whether this is a good fit, he'll do his homework, and then he'll go and meet the person, right? So that's it. What you don't want in the driver's seat around your relationship with money is the innocent, the victim, the martyr, the tyrant. The martyr archetype is a very compassionate archetype. So you want to, once you transcend some of the more negative patterns and behaviors around money and the martyr, it can become the most compassionate. You can just become highly, highly compassionate in your field, right? So what I want you to do now is I want you to close your eyes just for a second, and I want you to think of your first money memory. What what was your first money memory that you had? Where were you? Who's with you? What happened? What was the impact on you? And how did it make you feel? Great. Okay, so you can open your eyes. Would anyone like to share? You'll have to, my hearing's a little bit weird, so you'll have to speak louder. Would anyone like to be brave enough to share their money memory? Oh yes, thank you. Yes, please. The woman over there.
Okay. My first money memory, I was about 4 or 5 years old. And as a little child, I looked an awful lot like my aunt. And so she used to go to always out and get herself a really nice little pixie haircut, and then they would try and give me the at-home version of the untrained stylist so that I would continue to look like her. But I always wanted long, pretty hair like my older sister. So one time, it was time for me to get my haircut. Auntie showed up with her pretty little pixie, and Grandpa got out his scissors and said, "Let's go." And I said, "No, I don't want my haircut." And they tried to convince me, and I said, "No, like, I want pretty hair like my big sister, not short hair like my auntie." And my auntie said, "I'll give you a quarter." And that was quite a long time ago, so a quarter was still worth a lot that time, especially to a 4 or 5 year old. So I thought, I see 3 more adults in this room. No, quarter's not gonna cut it. So anyway, soon I was sitting down getting a haircut with $1 in my pocket, which went a really long ways. And then we moved away from my auntie, so I didn't have to look like her anymore. But that's the first time I remember having any kind of control over money.
Right. Great, thank you. What's your name? Great, what was the impact of that on you at the time?
I kind of felt like a winner. I knew I had to get that haircut anyhow. I felt really good that I convinced them to pay me to get my haircut. And realistically, that was quite a bit of money for a little kid back then.
And what was your feelings around it? What was your feelings?
I felt proud of myself. I don't know. Like it felt like celebration.
Right.
And candy once the haircut was done. But I didn't spend it all at once. It saved it for quite a while. Like I made that $1 last for quite a few weekend trips to the candy store.
So I'm imagining that you're quite a good seeker of opportunity in your business. Are you a business owner here? Right. So are you pretty good at the networking and seeking out opportunities and yeah, more or less? Okay.
I'm a new business owner, actually.
New business owner?
So I'm still working on all of that.
Okay. So that money memory, when I look at it from an archetypal point of view, I would see that the Fool was there because you were looking at the opportunities, you were listening to yourself, but also, hey, there's an opportunity here. And there's an opportunity around money to make a bit of money here, right? So I don't see any innocent, I don't see any victim, I see actually a warrior fool, right? And I'm just curious, are you actually okay with money? Do you manage money, or have you got a comfortable relationship with it, or?
I'm a really good saver.
Right.
I've never made large amounts of money, but I'm a really good saver. I never carry a balance on my charge cards.
Right. And you care for people pretty well around money?
I think so.
Right, great, thank you. Thanks, Kim, that's wonderful. So you can see how very early you get built around money. You were, 4 or 5, right? So when we do this work around money, we go right back to early childhood experiences, and we start to look and identify how you were built around this money, so that we can see which patterns you want to nurture and which ones you want to let go of, right? Because what you don't see, you can't change, right? So thank you very much for that. Okay, great. So what I'd like to do, if any of you are interested, is I'd like to offer a free 30-minute consultation. Maya is here, so she'll hand around some of the money quizzes. So if you want to do that, apparently I'm being given an hour. I only had half an hour and somebody told me I have an hour. So I have time to spend some time with you guys if you want to do a few minutes now, or you can take my business card. Maya, have you got the business cards? And she has a brochure, and what you can do is just take the brochure, take the money coaching card, and you can go online, do a 30-minute consultation, and then we can meet by Zoom or Skype, and we can chat about, I'll just give you a free consultation on what those scores reveal to me. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so if you want to do that money quiz, and you can see me, I'm in booth 210, so I can spend some time with you before the end of the expo. Please come in, I'd love to see you. Otherwise, you can just do it online, and we can meet online too. So booth 210, and thank you for attending.